Congressman Michael McCaul is chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee. Mr. Chairman, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Brett.
Your thoughts on this, what we're learning from it, and how it affects the U.S.?
Well, I can't say this came as a surprise. We've been worried about Europe for quite some time. Ever since Paris, the 10th Paris attacker was taken into custody. This could have been an accelerated response to that. We know the mastermind of the Paris attacks, Aboud, claimed that he brought in 90 potential terrorists into Europe as ticking time bombs, greatly concerning to the safety of Europe. I would say that because of the foreign fighter threat to Europe and the close proximity, they're much greater risk than the United States. Having said that, we're also very concerned, given the latest ISIS video talking about a Paris-style attack in the United States, that we are on a high state of alert, both at airports and at train stations, but also last points of departure from European cities and high-threat countries into the United States.
Mr. Chairman, counterterrorism officials I've talked to seem more worried than I've seen them in years about the size and scope of this particular threat. Is that fair?
It is, because it's really taken sort of a 6th century attitude and then using the internet to sort of globalize jihad. It's that fact that they've had 40,000 foreign fighters pour in to Iraq and Syria and northern Africa, thousands of them into Europe, hundreds into the United States. It's the hundreds in the United States, or those who could get in to carry out these attacks, that concerns us greatly. When I spoke with the FBI earlier, it's this encryption idea, the idea that they can communicate in dark space like they did in Paris, like what I think probably happened here in the Brussels case, that concerns us the most. If you can't see their communications, you can't stop it. I was in Belgium just last May meeting with counterterrorism officials, the Minister of Interior, and I can tell you the anxiety level is extremely high, particularly given the fact that the Muslim community is very segregated and is not assimilated with the rest of the culture, and out of that breeds this radicalism and terrorists.
You know, Mr. Chairman, you're talking about counterterrorism officials in Belgium. One of them was quoted today, BuzzFeed, with saying this: "We just don't have the people to watch anything else, and frankly, we don't have the infrastructure to properly investigate or monitor hundreds of individuals suspected of terror links, as well as pursue the hundreds of open files and investigations we have. It is literally an impossible situation, and honestly, it's very grave." Again, that's a Belgian counterterrorism official.
They are overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed in Belgium, in France, in Germany, in the UK, all of Europe. Remember, this is NATO headquarters, the symbolic capital of the EU. The legislation that we passed in the House last night deals with this counterterrorism assistance to screen individuals. In addition, these last points of departure, airports coming into the United States. And finally, the radicalization piece that could happen in the United States will be marked up tomorrow out of my committee and sent to the House floor.
Do you believe there are ISIS cells inside the U.S. currently?
I do know this, that ISIS individuals out of Syria are communicating with individuals in the United States. That is of grave concern. When there's no specific and credible threat, that's what we know about. When they can communicate in darkness, in encryption, we don't know what we don't know, but we do know they're talking.
You had a briefing today,
we don't know what they
Mr.
are.
Chairman, right?
I was briefed by both the FBI and Homeland Security officials.
Is there anything you can share from that?
Just that that is the concern, is that there are communications coming out of Syria into the United States. I will tell you any potential suspects, the ramp up of coverage is there. And we are particularly concerned about those individuals in the United States.
Mr. Chairman, at one point there was talk that there were investigations into ISIS in all 50 states. Is that still the case? That's
still the case. We've arrested over 80 ISIS followers. We have had 75 plots against the West, that being Europe and the United States. We've stopped most of them, but San Bernardino is real, Chattanooga is real. And a Paris-style event in the United States is a real threat that every day we're trying to prevent.
In Brussels, it appears that this is very sophisticated, the kind of explosives used, matching really the explosives used in Paris. There likely is a bomb maker or several that are at large in Europe?
We suspect that the same bomb maker responsible for the Paris attacks was involved in this attack. This plot, the level of sophistication, obviously it's been planned for months. Remember, it's been 4 months since the Paris attacks, and we believe in those 4 months they have plotted this particular attack, which really rivals the Paris attacks in terms of casualties, which is extremely tragic.
Last thing, your level of concern tonight for the U.S. security.
Well, again, we are ramping up security at our airports. These Viper units with canines at airports, subway transportation.